Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another edition in my series where I'm going through some underrated CDs from my collection. So if you've watched the previous editions in this series, I don't need to go into a whole long spiel here. These are either bands that I consider to be underrated or albums by a band that within the scope of their discography I feel are underrated. So I'm not going to do a long intro here, just going to get right into this and talk about 5 albums today. So the first one I got up here is Enthroned with their album XES Haereticum, probably mispronouncing that, Haereticum. I don't know how to say it, I apologize. But yeah, if you've never heard Enthroned before, they are from Belgium, really awesome black metal band. Probably most well known, at least on their earlier albums, for their vocalist. He has a really high-pitched rasp that's very unique. Not a lot of other vocalists sound like this. That's probably either going to be the feature about this band that you really like, or it might turn you off from them. But other than that, it's like straight ahead, aggressive black metal, really in-your-face, fast, pummeling riffs and drumming. And this album, I think, is one of their best, to be honest. You got the song 7 Plagues, 7 Wraths. Absolute standout. Features some clean vocals in there as well. Balanced back and forth with the harsh, high-pitched rasps and then some clean vocals. It's really cool. But there's also some just really awesome, aggressive songs on here too, like Crimson Legions, Night Stalker. Like, all in all, really solid band with a lot of good albums. This one, yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't done a ranking yet. I don't know if this is my #1 favorite. It might be #2. They have a couple albums that would be neck and neck. Maybe I'll do a ranking at some point. But yeah, definitely go check out Enthroned and their album that I cannot pronounce here. Yeah, underrated album. All right, next up, switch gears to some power metal with Judicator and their album At the Expense of Humanity. So this is a US power metal band, been around for a few years now. I think, I should have written it down. Was it 6 albums deep into their career now? This was their 3rd album and really their first that, like, all their albums are concept albums, mostly historical themed, but then every few albums they do one that's a little more close to home. This album is all about the singer losing his brother to cancer, so it's a lot more of an emotional album. But yeah, in terms of just power metal riffing, like, really awesome stuff here. The vocal melodies are amazing, like, kind of goes in flow with the riffs, and just the way that these songs are constructed, it's really engaging from start to finish. Like, yeah, this band gets compared to Blind Guardian a lot because, #1, the vocalist sounds a lot like Blind Guardian. The stylings of the riffs sound a lot like Blind Guardian, but that's their #1 influence, at least to my ears. But this does their own thing with it. This is actually my favorite Judicator album. I know they've been getting a little more recognition lately, so calling them underrated, maybe not. I mean, they're getting somewhat more well-known, but nonetheless, I don't see too many people talking about this album, and that's a shame because it's a really solid slab of power metal. Definitely go check it out if you have not. All right, up next, we're going to go with some folk metal with Finntroll and their album Nifelvind. So this album, it's not my favorite Finntroll album. If you haven't heard them before, I should start with that. The band from Finland, dress like trolls, play very blackened folk metal. Like, there's hints of black metal in there. There's like hints of polka. Just really fun stuff, not anything necessarily to be taken too seriously. This is not my favorite album by them, but the reason I'm going with this one is because I saw them on tour on this album back in the day and got a bunch of their signatures in here. Yeah, like right here, you got, I don't know if you can even see the signature there on that page. You got Vreth signing it. Here you got a couple more signatures. Unfortunately, I did not get Trollhorn's signature because he was not touring live with them anymore. Trollhorn, of course, also being in Moonsorrow, which would have been amazing to see him live. Maybe get him to sign some of my Moonsorrow CDs. But nonetheless, got like 5 members of the band here to sign the booklet. Bought this at the concert. And yeah, just really fun stuff. Like I said, maybe this isn't my absolute favorite album by them. They do have some better ones, but it's still fun. Finntroll style metal. If you haven't heard them before, go check out a bunch of their stuff. Check out this album still. I'm not saying it's bad, of course. I'm featuring it on here mostly because I wanted to show the signatures, but nonetheless, really fun band. Go check them out. All right, switching it up once again, let's go with some death metal with actually one of my favorite death metal bands, but I feel like they do not get the recognition they deserve, and that is Haereticum. And this album here is Phoenix Amongst the Ashes. I chose this one, like I have their entire discography, but I went with this one as I feel like this is maybe one of their more underrated ones in the scope of their career. Even in terms of myself, when I'm talking about them generally, I'm going to like King of All Kings or I Monarch as being absolute masterpieces, but this one honestly is not too far behind. This is thoroughly heavy from start to finish, and there's some like really interesting experimental parts too. Like you listen to the beginning of The Art of Redemption and just like the crazy tapping solo that goes on for like the first minute. Wouldn't have thought that that would be on a Hate Eternal album before this, but it makes it work. It starts with that crazy soloing, and then it just goes brutal after that. This album switches it up a bit where it's not just blast beats throughout. They kind of change up the tempos, which they were known to do on a few songs here and there. But man, honestly, if you just like your death metal heavy, fast and aggressive and full of hate, look no further than Hate Eternal. Like I said, this is not my #1 favorite album by them, but this one still kicks so much ass. Really awesome stuff here. Cannot recommend this band enough. Go check out their whole discography. Honestly, one of my favorite death metal bands for a reason. Go check out this album too. All right, that just leaves one more today. Gonna go with some atmospheric black metal, this time from Switzerland with Bardd and their album The Last Rain. So this is the second album by these guys. They have 3 albums to date. Probably got a little more recognition on their most recent album, Devoured by the Oak. But bang for my buck, I think this one is my favorite, The Last Rain. Nothing against Devoured by the Oak. I absolutely love that album as well. And even the debut is great. Well, maybe a little rougher around the edges. But here on this sophomore album, they just really knocked it out of the park. I love the artwork. I love everything about this. Like the first song, Between Hope and Reality, is a very lengthy track to kick it off, but it's just amazing. He brings in clean vocals with the harsh black metal vocals and just creates this gorgeous soundscape over top of everything. Really awesome stuff. If you're into atmospheric black metal at all, honestly can't recommend these guys enough. I'm sure if you're into the style, you're probably familiar with the band, but I feel like they're not that well known, so that's why I'm including them on the underrated video today. If you've never heard Bardd before, do yourself a favor and go give them a listen. Might just blow your socks off. Really awesome album and awesome band, no matter which album you grab. So anyways, those are just my picks for today. I'll have another edition in this next month with 5 more albums from my collection to talk about. Let me know down below what you think of any of these albums. And until next time, Hammer Heart Metal Reviews out.